here. Hope you guys are enjoying yourselves today. If not, well, we pray God's grace on you guys and peace. Um, going to talk a little bit about Ryan Garcia, the options he has available to him in his future. Ryan was talking about having a tank fight. His father also reinforced that they're serious about that fight and pursuing that fight. Javante Tank Davis called out Ryan at the end of his fight with Raleigh Romero, saying, "You're next, Ryan." Um, and Ryan Garcia and even Oscar De La Hoya is kind of echoing what Ryan Garcia said. Ryan Garcia wants that fight. Ryan Garcia did what he was supposed to do. Got Javier Fortuna out of there in spectacular fashion. Dropped him 3 times. Got him out of there. So he did what he was supposed to do. Tank did what he was supposed to do. He got Raleigh Romero out of there with a tremendously, beautifully timed left hook. So they both look spectacular. They both look appetizing. They look both undefeated. Both great fighters. Um, so the time is now for Ryan Garcia versus Tank Davis. Now, let the negotiations begin. So the negotiations began. Ryan was saying, wait, man, I kind of like this 140. I feel stronger. I feel fit at that. I think I'm staying at 140. I'm not going back down to 135. Can Ryan Garcia make 135? Absolutely, he can make 135. Uh, the reason the fight would happen at 140 was because Javier Fortuna didn't feel he could make the weight, 135 pounds. So they created a grace so that it could go up to 140 and fight. Okay? And so as a result of that, Ryan Garcia faced Javier Fortuna at 140. Okay? Um, so of course Ryan Garcia can make 135. We're not expecting. But what we're gonna do is we're gonna look at possibilities for Ryan Garcia, both at 135 and then at 140. Okay, so Ryan Garcia in his post-fight press conference said if he can't get the Tank Davis fight, he's looking at Teofimo Lopez. Now, what I like about Ryan Garcia is he opens the notion that there's no such thing as a promotional obstacle, meaning he is willing to do business with either Al Heyman, the PBC, Mayweather Promotions, Showtime, or he's willing to do business with Top Rank, Bob Arum, and ESPN. Basically, Ryan Garcia is saying this bullshit about this side of the street or that side of the street. Ryan Garcia is annulling that and say, if this is the best possible fight that's supposed to happen, is this a fight that people want to see, then we're going to make it happen, right? Ryan Garcia's not buying into the bullshit, which I got to give him props for that. I got to give him props for that. Now I'm pretty sure Ryan Garcia is going to end up facing Javante Tank Davis before the end of this year. Ready or not, he's going to do it. Um, of course, Dan Goosen, his job will be trying to get Ryan Garcia in best possible shape possible to face Tank Davis. Now, what Ryan Garcia did was he created tangible, uh, that tangible possibility of facing Tank, of facing a fighter who is a southpaw like Tank, a fighter with similar dimensions as Tank, and a fighter who has some of the similarities that Tank has when Tank fights. Sort of style, something like Tank. Not as aggressive, but somewhat aggressive, right? Now, why that's good is because Ryan used the blueprint by Mayweather, by Ugas, by Teofimo Lopez on how to fight a southpaw. Even Raleigh Romero was trying to use that blueprint. Of course, Tank broke the code, but that's totally different. That's a totally different point because I don't want to say too much. I'm a southpaw myself, so I don't want to say too much more about that, except to say that is what Ryan implemented. Yes, I saw the defensive flaws in Ryan's game. It just so happened that what Ryan did to make Javier Fortuna not pay attention to Javier Fortuna's game plan. Like Paulie Malignaggi said, Javier Fortuna was kind of in control of the fight round one and round two, but then he lost control of the fight and was reacting to Ryan Garcia in rounds 3, 4, 5, and so on. That's why Ryan was able to catch him with that left hook to the body, because he was reacting to Ryan Garcia. He threw, actually, Javier Fortuna just threw a nice straight right hand to the body of Ryan Garcia. He just touched him to the body, but he was not committed to any punch. He wasn't trying to dictate. Ryan was the one dictating. Even from the get go, Ryan was dictating because of the jab. And so Javier was reacting to Ryan instead of dictating. All right? That will not happen with Tank. But anyway, what I'm going to say is Tank Davis versus Ryan Garcia. Ryan Garcia saying, he's going to make it look easy. He gonna get Tank out of that. I mean, he's selling the fight. All right? That fight against Tank Davis is not an easy fight. Okay? Ryan Garcia thinks it's an easy fight. It's not an easy fight at all. This ain't no Javier Fortuna. Okay? Tank is levels above Javier Fortuna. But let's just look at some of the options that Ryan Garcia has on the table. All right? Now, let's say he does not face Tank Davis at 135. Okay? But he stays at 135. Comes back down to 135. The fight I want to see him face, the fighter I want to see him face next, would be a southpaw, just like Tank Davis, in Jojo Diaz. They're both with the same promotional company, Golden Boy. They both were supposed to face each other, and Ryan and his team did a thingamajig, and they did not face Jojo Diaz. And I have a lot of faith in Jojo Diaz. Jojo Diaz is not 33 years old. Jojo Diaz is not Javier Fortuna, who's past his prime, right? Or just on the verge of being out of his prime. Jojo Diaz is not a guy, if you hit him to the body, which is not going to happen, but if you hit him to the body, he going to quit, okay? He going to spit out his mouthpiece and quit. Javier Fortuna, as you clearly could see, he kind of at the end of his game. He wasn't in the best shape, as you could tell. You could see he was pudgy. You couldn't see his abs, nothing, right? It wasn't well defined. Javier Fortuna didn't know that it was time to call it a day, right? He looked pretty good in the fight before, but he didn't know to call it a day. And obviously he called it a day, okay? Now, I'm not saying that Javier Fortuna was not dangerous for Ryan. Clearly in round 5, he showed he was dangerous. But I'm saying, and I give Ryan all the credit in the world for limiting Javier Fortuna. Now, there's several reasons why that happened, but suffice it to say, he started off dictating with the jab, and then he followed it up with the right hand, which is what you use against a southpaw, and he's using it in combination with the jab to keep Javier Fortuna outside the range that Javier Fortuna wanted to have. And he was popping that jab in his face, popping the right hand in his face all the time, circling him. And you notice they were in the center of the ring circling one another. Nobody was pushing anybody back. And Fortuna had some opportunities and some moments, but not really enough. Ryan seized control of the fight pretty much with that fight. So that was very impressive, in my opinion. And if you're fighting a southpaw like myself, say, for example, that is one of the blueprints, one of the ways to sort of, if the southpaw doesn't know what they're doing, you can push them back. Or if you're playing chicken with them, because a lot of times shooting that right hand down the center, it could be countered by a left hand. If the fighter cuts the right angle, if the fighter side steps, you could actually throw a left uppercut up the center when a guy's throwing his lead right, like how Leo Santa Cruz was throwing the lead right, and Tank sidestepped him, right? Tank rolled under the lead right. He rolled under the lead right, and then came with the uppercut up the side. All right. So there are ways to use that to your favor, in your favor. But what I'm saying is that one of the key things here was that Ryan showed us textbook how to fight a southpaw. And we've seen it with Tio, we've seen it with Floyd, we've seen it with Ugas, we've seen it with Raleigh Romero, right? Of course, while that can work very similarly, a southpaw can flip the script on a guy like that. Like I said, if you circle out and reset, you can actually get the angle on your opponent, and you could do to them what they're trying to do to you. Or you could sucker them into a punch because they think they're doing everything correctly. So it's tricky. It's not as simple as it sounds. And once you get that right angle, now remember the difference between an elite fighter and a you know a good fighter is a good fighter does everything okay, all right, but they would still get hit because elite fighters work on angles and they execute angles perfectly. Okay. Now what the thing with Ryan is Ryan's always open for a counter. What Ryan counts on is his length, his long length. Now on the inside, Ryan's pretty strong on the inside as well. I noticed that. He has some short chopping shots on the inside. So you have to pay attention to that. And he's a big, strong guy. So, well, Tank's a big, strong guy too. So he was able to kind of outmaneuver, outmuscle Javier Fortuna on the inside. He would not do that to Jojo Diaz. I can guarantee you that. But what I'm trying to say is that I would like to see Jojo Diaz versus uh, um, um, Jojo Diaz versus Ryan Garcia because Jojo Diaz was a common opponent with Devin Haney. All right, Javier Fortuna was a common opponent with Jojo Diaz. Now, some people were telling me, Ryan is a better body puncher than Jojo Diaz. That is bullshit. Okay, Ryan threw but maybe one or two body punches in the whole entire fight. Okay, he's got some pop. He feinted him and he went to the body. Jojo Diaz is a body puncher. That's what he does. Okay? Jojo Diaz break down fighters by landing shots to the body. And Jojo Diaz has been able to get through to Devin Haney. Jojo Diaz has been able to get through to Tevin Farmer. Jojo Diaz, even when he let his hands go, was able to get through to Gary Russell Jr. Okay, Jojo Diaz is a exceptionally good at placing punches to the body fighter, and he knows how to slip punches. He knows how to get to the inside of any fighter. I don't care who you are. He is going to find his preferred range because Jojo Diaz, like Tank Davis, they roll, slip, dip from punches, ride punches. They roll in off of shots. They roll out. They get to their preferred range and they shoot body punches. Tank shoots the straight left to the body, right hooks to the body, you know, and Tank's very quick. JoJo's not as quick as sharp as Tank, but nonetheless, JoJo Diaz is quite a fighter. So I would like to see at 135, and since Golden Boy has JoJo Diaz on their roster, I don't see it as a big problem. I would like to see JoJo Diaz versus Ryan Garcia because what Javier Fortuna was not able to do, I'm guaranteeing you JoJo Diaz will be able to do. Okay, JoJo Diaz will get to the inside. JoJo Diaz will get to Ryan's inside and push Ryan back. Ryan will have to fight off the ropes because of late, the last couple of fights that Ryan has had, Ryan has been moving forward on the front foot. He's been front foot fighting. Nobody's been pushing him on the back foot. Now, I've seen a fight which went the distance with Ryan. That was early on in his career where he was fighting off the back foot. A guy like Rolly Romero, but again, Ryan is a sharpshooter. I think at this point in time, I think Rolly Romero probably still gets stopped. But Rolly Romero would probably push Ryan off the back foot because Rolly can punch. Raleigh, if anything else, one thing you can't say, Raleigh can punch. Okay, so to see Rolly Romero versus Ryan Garcia, that's another option for Ryan at 135. Rolly Romero versus Ryan Garcia. That's a fight Rolly Romero should probably shoot for because Ryan's a big star, sort of like he's not a pay-per-view star, but he's a big star in boxing. He makes noise. People come to see him fight. So that's another option for Ryan Garcia. Another infighter who would be a nice matchup for Ryan Garcia would be Pitbull Cruz. Notice all of these fighters I'm talking about, not Rolly Romero so much, but all the other fighters, Pitbull Cruz, JoJo Diaz, these are inside fighters. These are guys, they find their way to the inside. And one thing about Pitbull Cruz is he's, again, defensively responsible. So I would love to see Pitbull Cruz versus Ryan Garcia. See if he could push Ryan back like he did Tank. Common opponent with Tank as well, but a top quality opponent. I would like to see Pitbull Cruz versus Ryan Garcia. Now Ryan says claims on his side of the fence that Pitbull Cruz didn't want that fight, But I think Pitbull Cruz, they were trying to get a rematch with Tank, which is not going to happen anytime soon. I don't think. So I think Pitbull Cruz and let their team should just go on to another opponent. They got a reputation for facing Tank, so it is what it is. Um, the other option, of course, is Tank. Another option at 135 is not open right now, but Devin Haney, if possible. Lomachenko, if possible. Uh, um, you got Nakatalia. Nakatalia, not Nakatani, but Nakatalia is a fighter that Shakur Stevenson faced, and he's the guy that knocked out Miguel Berchelt. That's an African fighter. He also has good power. That's another option for Ryan Garcia. You got Nakatani, if you want to compare with Vasily Lomachenko. They have a fight with that. Richard Comey. I think that Ryan would get rid of Richard Comey. Richard Comey has a great right hand. Richard Comey is a tall guy, kind of like Ryan. But the problem with Richard Comey is he's too damn slow. So that'd be easy work for Ryan. Um, but uh, you know, based on his performance with Javier Fortuna, I think the more plausible thing would be a fight with Jojo Diaz. So hopefully Ryan will be ready for Jojo Diaz, and then we'll see if Ryan really can handle, because Jojo Diaz will give him a run for his money. Let's see if he can handle a fighter like Jojo Diaz, because Jojo Diaz will definitely prepare him, just like I prepared Devin Haney for Cambosis. Cambosis couldn't do nothing to Devin Haney because Jojo Diaz is a better fighter than Cambosis. He just is, and he's proven it. And he came up from featherweight, I believe, or super bantamweight. I'm not too sure. Jojo Diaz is a hell of a fighter. I have Jojo Diaz pushing Ryan Garcia to his limit, but at 135. Don't go up no 140. We're staying at 135. Fight there. Now, if Ryan wants to go up to 140, I don't think Tank is going to fight him at 140 because Tank will be dictating the terms. Tank will be the A side. So it doesn't matter what Ryan says. Tank probably will face him at 135. Okay? Which is where Tank has his titles and everything. And Ryan didn't defend his interim title because he was supposed to be the mandatory for Devin Haney. That's why Devin Haney showed up. He did not defend his interim title against WBC interim title against uh, Javier Fortuna. Instead, what he did, he got a way out, so he doesn't have to face Devin Haney. It's what it is. I don't care. I mean, Ryan wants to face Devin Haney last. But me personally, I think, um, I, like many people, I don't think that Ryan's ready for a Tank. Okay, um, but hey, if that's the next fight, get yourself as ready as possible, and let's see what happens. I mean, the one thing that Ryan has is he has length and he has reach, but he can't afford to be making the mistakes he makes on a fight-to-fight basis. And he has to understand that he better be able to fight really well on the back foot because Tank is going to back him up. Okay? And it sounds weird, but it really is going to happen. Tank is going to back him up, just like how he backed up Mario Barris. Mario Barris is a fighter who used to back up other guys. Big, very big 140 pounder. Packed a good punch. Still does. And you saw him hurt Keith Thurman. You saw Mario Barris hurt Keith Thurman. Keith Thurman is a huge welterweight. So if Tank stopped Mario Barrios with the body shot, by the way, do know that Tank can handle a Ryan Garcia. Yes, Ryan's quicker with his hand speed and stuff, but Tank will find a way to get to the inside, and he will cut the angles necessary to do that. Right? We saw Tank take out Mario Barrios the first time with a leaping left hook. Okay, that's all I'm going to say about that. Defensively, Ryan has to tighten up his defense. You cannot be going in there facing a guy like Tank, and your defense is open. And your defense is not just going to be predicated on your offense. You know, in the case of Fortuna, Fortuna ate your bluff, and so he was backing off instead of stepping to you and closing the distance as he's supposed to have done, because he was afraid of either the check hook that was coming through or he was afraid of the straight right that was coming down the pipe. But really, the straight right, all he had to do was, I ain't going to say what he got to do. because I'm tired. I ain't gonna say what he's gonna do, but I know what he should have done as an adjustment to that, and he would have handled the situation. But it's all good. So anyway, in boxing, it's about timing. It's not just as happened with Ryan and Javier Fortuna. Anyway, so 140 options. Let's talk about it. So at 135, we're talking Loma, Tank, the usual suspects. Loma, Tank, Haney, Jojo Diaz, um, Pitbull Cruz, which is a good fight, by the way. Um, you know, Nakatilia, Nakatani, Loma, all right? Comey. At 140, you talked about Teofimo Lopez. That's an interesting matchup. But we also got um Josh Taylor, Reggie Prograis. We got Jose Ramirez, Jose Cepeda, Jose Pedraza. Sorry. Um, we got Gary Anton Russell, Brandon Lee. Uh, we got this big, strong Colombian kid. I forgot what his name is. Um, we got a bunch of guys that are interesting. Jack Catterall, and the Spanish kid that beat Mikey Garcia. I forgot what his name is. So we got a bunch of decent people up there in 140. Now, understand 140 pounders. I know Ryan's a big guy, but 140 pounders, they're bigger, they hit harder, they're stronger. We saw Ryan get dropped by Luke Campbell. We saw him get hurt by Javier Fortuna. Javier Fortuna is a guy coming up in weight. He's a puncher, so he can hit. Luke Campbell's not really a puncher, but he got a good left hand, and he did stun Vasily Lomachenko with it. But he's not the heaviest of punchers, right? The reason he caught Ryan Garcia was because Ryan Garcia didn't have his guard to his chin, and when he shot the straight right, Luke Campbell came back with a leaping left hook and caught him, right? Now, like I said before, Ryan he defensively doesn't keep phone near the phone booth. We talked about these things before. But he's able to use certain offensive tools to sort of keep his opponent occupied so they don't launch their offense, and therefore that's how his defense is still predicated on that. He's still not keeping his guard back where he's supposed to be, staying defensively sound and defensively sharp as much as he should. He's also open for body punches, especially when he's shooting the lead right hand. He's open for body punches on both sides of his body. Nobody's really attacked his body like that. So there's a number of different things that he does. He don't bring back his hands all the time. He keep his hands out there as well. Of course, the chin still, he has to work on keeping his chin tucked. He throw the punches like this. He throw the punches with his chin going up in the air, like that. That's how he throw punches, and he reaches with punches. So he has to be careful. Yes, you're quick, but there's a lot of things you still have to work on in your game. Get that chin tucked, man. Don't keep that chin up in the air when you're throwing them punches. You know what I mean? And he's open for many, many different counters, but because he's so long, you could fall short, especially when he uses his feet to shuffle back half a step and respect distance. But a leaping left hook could stop all of that. Um, so leaping shots, athleticism, those kinds of things can catch a guy when he's least expecting it, especially if you got his timing down. So and Ryan still, he fires on all cylinders, but his time is not always the best. But in terms of options, those are the options he has on the table. But the bigger boys, you see them bigger boys, Anton Russell, Regis Prograis, Josh Taylor, Jose Ramirez, them bigger boys, they hit harder and they're much more dangerous. Um, so if Ryan's really serious about campaigning at 140, it means he's looking to go against those guys now, including the Teofimo Lopez's and all those other guys, and the top 10 140 pounders. In which case, that's a totally different ball game to 135. Okay, these guys can take a lot more. They're not Javier Fortuna. They're not a little bit past their prime, and Javier Fortuna can crack and all of that, but he's a small guy. you know, coming up in weight. These guys are big guys compared to Ryan, and they been at that weight class. So it's a different kettle of fish. I don't think Ryan's gonna stay at 140. He just talking because his little step up fight that he had with Fortuna ain't nothing to prepare him for the 140 pounders in the 140-pound division. Nothing. So I suspect that he's just talking that talk for negotiations with Tank, thinking that he can get a little bit more size on his side against Tank. But Tank is a big dude. Tank walk around 160, even though he's small. When he's in shape, he's talking about an in shape 140 something pound guy. Uh, Very very hard hitter. I mean, very very hard hitter. Um, so it would be interesting. Very explosive as well. Very smart. So I don't know. Ryan Garcia versus Tank Davis. I think that's the next fight on the table. If Tank knocks out Ryan, um, what's the options for Ryan after that? I say he still plays along. I saw Raleigh Romero get stopped by Tank, and Raleigh's career just keeps on going. Raleigh still keeps on saying some zany shit though, so it really don't matter. That's Raleigh's Raleigh, but Raleigh's career keeps on moving on. And so I think Ryan's career will just keep on moving on anyway, um, whether he gets stopped by Tank or not. Um, so Ryan really ain't got nothing to lose by being beat by Tank. Ryan can box. He's a good boxer. It's just that he has these tremendous lapses in defense. Not very consistent with his defense. His offense is great, but his defense is not as solid. And I think a lot of people have said that already. So um, these are the prospects I see for Ryan Garcia in the future. How much you need? If you like this video, don't forget to like, share, subscribe. You also donate via